In 2019, I bought this toaster for $19. It was simple, it worked, and I didn't think twice about where it came from. Today, that exact same model costs $42. Now, the easy answer, the one you hear on the news every night, is inflation. They tell you the dollar is weaker or that supply chains are just messy. But they're lying to you. Well, actually, it's worse than a lie. It's an outdated map. I traced the parts of this toaster. The heating element is still made in a massive factory in China, but the outer shell, that's now molded in Mexico. The final assembly, that happened in a small facility in Texas. This toaster has a passport more traveled than mine, and you're the one paying for its plane tickets. The data confirms a reality that most people are too scared to admit. The era of cheap is dead. We aren't moving factories out of China because it's too expensive to build there. Labor is still cheap. The machines are already there. We're moving them because the era of global efficiency has been replaced by geopolitical ransom. You aren't paying for the product anymore. You're paying a 40% security tax just to ensure that product actually arrives at your door. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you the new map of the world. If you keep following the 1990s rulebook, your paycheck will continue to evaporate. But if you understand the Economic Archipelago, you'll realize that this isn't just a crisis, it's the greatest redistribution of wealth in our lifetime. Observe the board, because the game has already changed. For 30 years, we lived in a world that felt like one giant frictionless ocean. If a company in Ohio wanted a screw, they bought it from a guy in Shenzhen because it was half a cent cheaper. It didn't matter who was in charge of the government. It didn't matter what the borders looked like. The only god we worshipped was efficiency. This was the Made in China era. It was a beautiful mathematical dream where every product was built in the one place on Earth that could do it the cheapest. And for a while, it worked. It gave us $5 t-shirts and $200 flat-screen TVs. It felt like progress. But here's the thing history proves. Efficiency is fragile. By the time we hit the mid-2020s, the ocean dried up. Suddenly, having your entire supply chain on the other side of a planet controlled by a geopolitical rival didn't look like efficiency anymore. It looked like a liability. The pattern is clear. The 2026 trade war isn't a temporary spat between politicians. It is the final decoupling of the world's two largest engines. The US-China truce of 2026 was just a bandage on a gunshot wound. The logic of the 1990s, the idea that trade prevents war, has been flipped on its head. Now, the logic is trade is the weapon. Realize this. When you go to the store and see that your favorite brand of shoes is out of stock, or that the price of a new laptop has jumped by $300, you aren't seeing a glitch in the system. You are seeing the system work exactly as intended. Common sense is now your greatest liability. If you still believe that prices will go back to normal once things settle down, you are waiting for a world that no longer exists. The old world was a supermarket. The new world is a fortress. And in a fortress, you don't care about the price of the grain. You care about who owns the gate. Meet your biggest enemy. I call him the ghost of 1990. This ghost lives in the head of every CEO, every politician, and probably your own parents. The ghost whispers that globalization is inevitable. It tells you that if we just wait a few more months, the ships will start moving again, the tariffs will drop, and everything will be cheap again. This ghost is exactly how the system traps you. While you're waiting for the old world to return, the institutions, the hedge funds, and the massive conglomerates are already front-running the disaster. They know the truth. The friction is the point. Every time a product has to cross a new political block, someone gets paid. In 2026, we see the rise of friendshoring. It sounds friendly, doesn't it? Actually, it's a trap. Friendshoring just means moving a factory from a country we don't like, China, to a country we sort of like, Vietnam or India. But here's the secret. Most of those factories in Vietnam are still owned by Chinese companies. So now, instead of a direct line from the factory to you, the product has to take a detour. It goes from China to Vietnam, gets a Made in Vietnam sticker, and then heads to the US. Who pays for that detour? You do. The ghost of 1990 makes you believe this is just a transition period, but it's not. It's a permanent, new layer of cost. You feel this stress every day. It's that low-level anxiety when you look at your grocery receipt. It's the feeling that you're working harder than your parents did, but your lifestyle is somehow shrinking. That's the ghost at work. The system profits from your nostalgia. It wants you to stay in the supermarket mindset while they build the fortress walls. Admit it, you've been waiting for a sale that is never coming. To survive this, you need to stop looking at a globe and start looking at an archipelago. Welcome to the Economic Archipelago. In the old world, trade was like water. It flowed to the lowest point. If a product could be made cheaper somewhere else, the water just flowed there. But in 2026, the water has receded. The ocean is gone. Now, if you want to move a crate of goods from one island to another, you don't just sail there. You have to pass through 3 distinct toll booths. Toll booth number 1 is the tariff. This is the political price. It's a tax on being foreign. In 2026, tariffs aren't just for steel or cars. They're on everything. It's the price of admission to a market that no longer trusts its neighbors. Toll booth number 2 is compliance. In the archipelago, you can't just buy from anyone. You have to prove that your parts didn't come from a bad island. This requires an army of lawyers, auditors, and paperwork. Every page of that paperwork adds 5 cents to the price of your coffee, your shoes, and your phone. Toll booth number 3 is the middleman fee. Because the US and China aren't talking directly, they use translator countries like Mexico or India. These countries are the bridge islands, but bridges aren't free. Mexico takes a cut. India takes a cut. Vietnam takes a cut. By the time that crate reaches your island, the price has doubled. This is the financial physics of the 2026 economy. Gravity no longer pulls prices down. Friction now pushes them up. In the old world, the most successful person was the one who could find the cheapest water. In the archipelago, the winner is the person who owns the most shortcuts. Nearshoring isn't about saving money on labor, it's about reducing the number of toll booths. If a factory is in Mexico, it only has 1 toll booth to cross instead of 3. That is why your life is 40% more expensive. You are paying for the distance between the islands, and the islands are drifting further apart every single day. Let's look at a real-world example of how this archipelago kills the unprepared. Meet CEO Alex. In 2021, Alex was a hero. His company made high-end fitness trackers. He had one massive factory in Shenzhen. It was efficient. It was cheap. Alex was making millions. Then, the 2026 trade war hit its peak. Suddenly, Alex's trackers were hit with a 25% tariff. Alex didn't panic. He listened to the ghost of 1990. He thought, I'll just wait it out. The politicians will fix this. He waited, but the wall didn't move. It got taller. Finally, Alex decided to move. He saw a headline about the new frontier in Vietnam. Alex spent $50 million moving his assembly lines. He thought he beat the system, but he forgot about the archipelago's toll booths. Because he moved so fast, he was still buying all his microchips from his old partners in China. The US government looked at Alex's trackers and said, "Wait a minute, these aren't Vietnamese. These are 90% Chinese parts with a Vietnamese sticker." They hit Alex with a circumvention tax. Alex went bankrupt, not because he was bad at making fitness trackers, but because he tried to use an ocean strategy in an archipelago world. Now, look at Sarah. Sarah didn't try to be efficient. She tried to be close. Her products cost 20% more to make than Alex's old trackers. In 2021, everyone called her an idiot. But in 2026, Sarah is the only one who can actually deliver a product to a customer's door in 3 days without a surprise tariff. Sarah is winning, while Alex is gone. The lesson here is brutal. In a trade war, the cheapest option is usually the most expensive mistake you can make. The pattern proves it. The companies winning in 2026 are the ones that accepted the death of Made in China years ago. They didn't wait for the world to fix itself. They built their own bridges. Now, here is the part of the video where most creators would tell you that everything will be okay. They'd give you some tips on budgeting or couponing to handle the 40% price jump. But I'm not going to do that, because that would be a lie. Here is the hard truth. Your standard of living, the one you were promised in the 90s and 2000s, is never coming back. The era of the middle-class lifestyle being subsidized by cheap Chinese labor is over. We built our entire economy on the back of a country that is now our primary rival. That was a one-time glitch in history. 99% of people who watch this video, they will complain about prices. They'll blame the other political party, and they will wait for things to go back to normal. But the normal you're looking for was an anomaly. The archipelago is a high-cost environment. It is a high-friction environment. This means that for the rest of your life, things will be too expensive. Houses, cars, toasters, coffee. The 40% security tax is permanent because the world is no longer willing to trade security for savings. This is the ugly side of the solution. To be secure as a nation, we have to be poorer as individuals. That is the trade-off that no politician will tell you to your face. They'll tell you, we're bringing back jobs. Yeah, they're bringing back $25 an hour jobs to replace $2 an hour jobs. Who do you think pays the difference? It's you. It was always going to be you. If you can't accept that the math of the world has fundamentally shifted, you are going to spend the next decade being angry at a ghost. Take a breath. I know that's a lot to process. It feels like the floor has dropped out from under you. And in a way, it has. But here's the secret that the ghost of 1990 doesn't want you to know. Now that you see the machine, it can no longer control you. Most people are trapped because they are fighting a battle that ended 10 years ago. They are trying to survive in an ocean that has already dried up. But you're looking at the archipelago. The moment you stop expecting things to be cheap, you stop being a victim of the price tag. You can start making moves that actually matter. De-shame yourself. It's not your fault that your paycheck doesn't go as far. You aren't bad with money. You are living through a tectonic shift in human history. History proves that the people who survive these shifts aren't the ones who fight the hardest to keep the old world alive. They are the ones who are the first to accept the new reality. The price of your toaster went up? Okay. The cost of your morning routine is 40% higher? Fine. Now, what are you going to do about it? The system is rigged, yes, but it's rigged with a specific set of rules. And once you learn the rules of the archipelago, you can stop drowning and start building. If you want to win in the death of Made in China era, you need 3 weapons. Weapon 1, the mental pivot. Stop waiting for a truce. Stop waiting for the 2026 trade numbers to improve. The data confirms that decoupling is a one-way street. From now on, assume that anything crossing an ocean will be 30% more expensive and 50% less reliable. Adjust your lifestyle and your business expectations today. If it isn't local or friendly, it isn't yours. Weapon 2, the immediate hedge. In the ocean era, we bought disposable because it was cheap to replace. In the archipelago era, you must buy durable. If the security tax is going up, the most expensive thing you can buy is something that breaks in 2 years. Buy things that are made within your own block. It might cost 20% more today, but it won't be subject to a 50% tariff hike tomorrow. Weapon 3, the systemic play. Don't just pay the toll booths, own them. The wealth of the next decade is moving into the bridge countries. Look at the companies building infrastructure in Mexico, Vietnam, and India. Look at the domestic automation companies in the US that are making Made in America possible again. The archipelago has new winners. If you aren't investing in the bridges, you're just the one paying the toll. Here is my question for you. The checkmate question. When the world stops being a supermarket and starts being a fortress, will you be the person crying at the gates, or will you be the one building the new supply lines inside? The pattern of history is never a straight line. It's a series of breaths. For 30 years, the world took a deep breath in. We expanded, we connected, we became one. Now, the world is exhaling. We are contracting. We are pulling back into our own corners. Your grandfather lived in a world of borders. Your father lived in a world of oceans. You are the first generation to live in the archipelago. It's a harder world. It's an expensive world. But it's also a world where value actually means something again. This toaster isn't just a kitchen appliance anymore, it's a symbol of a new reality. Everything you own, everything you buy, and everything you build from this moment on will be a choice between cheap and real. Choose wisely, because your legacy isn't built on what you saved, it's built on what you secured. But even as you master the map of the archipelago, there is a new, more invisible wall waiting for you in the shadows, a force that is currently rewriting the very definition of value, one that doesn't care about borders or toll booths. Next time, we pull back the curtain on the one silent force that destroys even those who follow all the rules. I'll see you in the next one. Stay vigilant.